Hey folks, MasakoX here. So it's been some time, but another What If lightning round is upon us. Now if you're brand new to the channel, first of all I would like to extend a warm welcome to you, and also to explain what this format is. Sometimes we get ideas from you fine folk which sound good on paper, but aren't, sadly, things that we could envision for our long-term story that you're more accustomed to here on this channel. However, instead of just binning these ideas all together, instead we put together these lightning round videos to possibly just give our thoughts on these stories and what we might do if we tackled them in a quicker fashion. Today's video is sponsored by Tokyo Treat and MasakoX. With MasakoX, you will receive 20 traditional and authentic artisan Japanese snack items, including Japanese teas, and one example of special Japanese tableware with your box every month, this being a delightful sukimi plate. MasakoX partners with local Japanese snack makers, enabling Japanese culture and traditions that are over a century old to continue for future generations. This month it's all about the moon with the Kyoto Moon Festival and this inspired box design in collaboration with the Kyoto government, where you can delve into the mystery of the Sukimi celebration, with these yuzu dorayaki for example, my favourite from this month. Then Tokyo Treat allows you to taste 20 of the latest, most exclusive and seasonal flavoured Japanese snacks, which this month is the Moon Festival Munchies. Dive in with treats such as orange mikan mochi and salt lemon Kit Kats, the snacks that you recognise but flavours that will surprise you. Both boxes provide extra details for your curiosity, like ingredients, fascinating context behind each snack so you'll learn whilst you indulge, as well as important allergen information. I've been receiving these boxes for some time now, and I can say that these boxes are an amazing way to experience Japan, and they will give you everything that you enjoy about Japan and more. You can go to my Up on the Lookout channel to find out more about these treats, or you can go ahead and get $5 off your first MasakoX or Tokyo Treat box by using the code MasakoX at checkout, or via the links in the description before August 31st. Thanks once again to MasakoX and Tokyo Treat for sponsoring today's video. Let's start with one suggestion from Joshua Kane. What would change if there were only one timeline in the whole of Dragon Ball? No time travel. This sounds like a good idea, right? No time travel, messing up Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Super. One of the biggest problems with the entire franchise is how you put the timelines together. It's worse than Zelda. Well, no, think for a second here. What timeline do we know about where time travel didn't exist until the plot said so? That's right. Basically, the future Trunks timeline without the time machine. Bulma never thought of it. Where there was no means to try and fix things for the Dragon team, or what was left of it, which was basically Trunks. Simply going with that for an answer would be incredibly boring, so let's instead try to get the remainder portion of Dragon Ball Z down as best as we can, working with just one timeline, no resorting to time travel. The timeline would remain in one piece, and Cronoa could take the day off. In fact, she wouldn't even exist. What would be the point of a Supreme Kai of Time if there are no multiple timelines? What changes? The Frieza saga stays the same, since that wasn't affected by Trunks, and his time-travelling Technicolor Dream Jacket. The first major difference naturally comes along with the arrival of Frieza and King Cold. Do they manage to get the upper hand on the Dragon team? Not quite. We still have a Goku in the timeline, at least for now. Goku still doesn't use his new gimmick to help his friends, and gets back just in the nick of time to give Frieza and his daddy a decking in the schnoz. Easy as that. Is that it, Masako? Well, yeah, this isn't even a stretch conjecturing that, since it's literally what happened in the original timeline. If Goku were the one to take them both down, with Super Saiyan and Yardrati in training, he would have done it pretty easily. But from there on out, this is where things go a little bit south, and I'm not talking about South City. The biggest question going forward for us is this: should we allow Goku to perish or naturally recover from the heart virus? Well, let's keep that plot device in for now, as that could work in the story's favour. Now, we still have Trunks, but instead of a jacket-wearing 19-year-old, he's a 10-month-old infant, so he isn't really much help right now. But the heroes are unaware of the androids, and our heroes would train regardless, since they would assume that other cosmic threats would come their way. I mean, after all, Cold and Frieza did just that, and if news got around the galaxy that those two were off on this planet, more chances would most likely come to try and take some glory. Or what was left of the Frieza Force might come back seeking revenge. So yes, training would occur still. First off, with Goku and Vegeta. as they are both on Earth. Gohan would be kinda training on and off with Piccolo, and in general, the Earthlings would also increase their power through minimal training as well. Let's assume that it would be for, I don't know, the intention of the World Martial Arts Tournament, them deciding to get in the action instead of forgetting about it because of the androids. The 24th tournament does occur during the events of the Android Saga, with Hercule winning it. Now the biggest change would be that, in this timeline, Dr. Gero would figure a way to accelerate Cell's growth, instead of us having to rely on a future iteration of Perfect Cell coming back in time. This will become pretty important very soon. Vegeta tries to work with Kakarot, tries to be around his son Trunks, but kinda stinks at this, and is frustrated by his inability to transform into a Super Saiyan. He decides to, like in the original, leave Earth and seek out the power for himself, away from Goku's naturally chirpy disposition. In space, he is indeed able to transform in the anime style. As the prince is celebrating his achievement, 19 and 20 attack. It goes exactly how it would have done in the old timeline, except it takes them some more time to identify the old man as Dr. Gero because they hadn't been given the heads up. They chase him down to his lair, with Goku being struck by the heart virus, and Vegeta returning just in time, dramatically, to destroy 19, and Gero is heavily injured because of it. But then, he activates 17 and 18, gets betrayed by them activating 16. Sounds almost identical to the original timeline, right? Well, what is different here is that although Gero's death still occurs, it doesn't go unnoticed. It activates the safety measures deep within the sublab that starts to pump in more stimulation, more juice to an almost ready Cell larvae, growth hormones. Our heroes do not know about the secret basement and the fact that this little bug is roiding out. So they just blow up the surface lab, leaving the lower levels untouched. 17 and 18 are up to no good, but are taken down a notch by 16, meaning that they don't cause History of Trunks level of carnage here. They kick Vegeta's butt though, and go on their road trip. Bulma decides to focus on discovering a medicine to heal her friend, but only manages to get something that could halt the effects of the sickness for about a year. Not exactly 365 days, but close enough. It's not a cure per se, but it is enough to halt the virus's progress temporarily so they can get done what they need to. They also try and get a wish on Shenron. Maybe he can wish the virus away. But they are told that Shenron would be unable to heal it, since it's already in an advanced state. Too weak. The Dragon Boy needs upgrades. Meanwhile, Piccolo is checking out a new source of danger, and his interactions with the accelerated cell are basically the same as the original. So is the whole chase after the androids. We have Kamikolo, but Goku decides that he needs to prepare Gohan to take over for him as the leader of Earth's defenses, since he only has about a year left to live. He decides to sacrifice his extra time that the medicine had bought him. However, in this timeline, Vegeta doesn't have a partner for the time chamber, so we will have him go in with Kamikolo, who witnesses semi-perfect Cell's power in full capacity after he absorbs 17. They later swap with Goku and Gohan. Piccolo is focused on destroying Cell, but he is slightly weaker than Vegeta, who betrays him to let Cell get his perfect form in order to give him a proper challenge. Yeah, we all know how that ended up. Piccolo's role now has been upgraded in some way to replace future Trunks in this outcome. Cell decides to make the Cell games, lamenting the fact that Earth's fighters are so weak. Goku and Gohan exit the chamber, and Goku is kinda happy that the symptoms of the heart virus haven't shown themselves yet. He's still just got that little bit of extra time, his strength is still there. So he grabs Dende from Namek unhindered. The Cell games go how anyone would expect them to go, with the exception that, in dramatic fashion, the symptoms of the heart virus do rear their heads. Sadly, Bulma's medication wasn't enough to outlast the Cell games, and it couldn't cope with the full-on power of Full Power Super Saiyan in full bore, and the damaged heart gets Goku during his fight with Cell, and he perishes due to exhaustion caused by the intense duel, and it kinda makes Cell a little sad. This is what triggers Gohan Super Saiyan 2, instead of 16's actions. But this time, he is motivated by the need to live up to his father's legacy instead of out of pure fear. He frees 18 from Cell, and before Cell can go nuclear and destroy the planet, Gohan just wipes out Cell. He doesn't even give him a chance to take control or dictate the pace of the fight. All is well. All 3 androids are alive and become friendly with the team. Goku had perished due to natural causes, and thusly, this means he cannot be brought back with the Dragon Balls. Now everything from there on remains mostly the same, with the exception of a few things. Gohan continues to train since he is now Earth's lead defender proper, and he is the one fighting Majin Vegeta, and actually beats him into shape. Majin Vegeta still decides to sacrifice himself for the sake of his son, and we assume that Goku and Chi-Chi had been able to conceive Goten before he had succumbed to the heart virus. But the final villain is Super Buu, who gets defeated by Ultimate Gohan. Good Buu sadly doesn't make it. We're not going into too many details because the story wouldn't really change enough. Goku only helps from the other world, but still has Super Saiyan 3 since, well, that's where he acquired the transformation. And later on, far later on, Gohan is the one to either unlock Super Saiyan God or fight Beerus in his beastly form. Either way, the cat's happy. Resurrection F ends really quickly because Gohan would not be toying with the likes of Frieza. The Goku Black Saga is literally not a thing because Goku's not around for a start, and due to only one timeline existing, remember, it's not possible. And instead of Frieza in the Tournament of Power, we have Android 16, and also only one Zeno, with Gohan asking Baba to allow Goku to take part in the tournament under special conditions. After Goku and Gohan take on Jiren, come on, Goku would have been training in the other world since he would never tire, Whis revives him thanks to his limitless angel powers, so that he can be with his family. And as a token for doing such a well-on splendid job, Broly would not change a lot either. So that's the easiest way of creating a singular timeline. That still would have had a story that we would have been familiar with. Oh gosh, that was pretty long for a lightning round, wasn't it? But wait, there's more. Something that we are asked very frequently on our roundtable live streams, that we have considered putting in one of our FAQs, but instead we gave it a home here. What if Goku landed at Kame House? So, if Goku's original caretaker was Master Roshi instead of Gohan, things would be not as different as you'd think. So at first, Roshi would freak out about this weird baby that had just landed in a pod on his little island. Remember, there's not much real estate, it would have created a massive crater. Maybe in the whole incident and frantic aftermath, we would have had Goku hit his head out of all the stress and hysteria, which would cause the old master to then feel kind of bad for the kid, and take him in out of guilt, pondering with the turtle as to what to do with the youngster in the long term. He sees an ad in one of his magazines that he would quickly realise that babies or toddlers are great chick magnets, and deduces that this whole landing on his island thing had been fate answering his call. He would know that he would need to acquire some baby equipment from more civilized places. He would have to go to the city. And yes, initially he would milk the attention from being a cute grandpa taking care of the grandson with a tail for all that it was worth. He would quickly become irritated, though, that the ladies turned out to be more interested in the little kid than him. Where was the magnetic attraction? Also, he would not initially name the baby, coming up with names on the fly for the sake of the interaction. Roshi would quickly realise that this responsibility is kind of too much for him at his age, especially during a full moon night, where his adopted protege would inexplicably transform into an Ozaru or great ape or whatever, and he would barely be able to contain the power. But Roshi would survive. He is pretty wily and sprightly for an old man, and to avoid later cerebral gymnastics with Monster Carrot, he would cast an illusion to hide the moon. If Piccolo could apparently do that, according to the Kakarot video game, let's assume that Roshi could do it as well. Roshi would decide that a much better parental figure would be his good friend and former student, Gohan. He would leave the kid there with a warning for Gohan concerning the kid's latent power that appears during the full moon. The boy would get his Goku moniker, but would remain on friendly terms with his Uncle Roshi, even to the point of visiting Kame House on the regular. This whole experience would teach Roshi something: humility, and make acquiring his Dragon Ball later on much easier, since he is a friend of the family instead of an almost complete stranger. Gohan would survive through Dragon Ball, and Roshi's first death would be even more devastating for Goku than it was originally. But he would have been revived anyway. No other major changes here. Just Grandpa Gohan would most likely be able to meet his namesake, the little Gohan, and peacefully pass away due to old age during the earlier portions of Z. The next one is also something that we get a lot, and is a good candidate for our FAQ, but again, we decide to deal with it here. What if Goku married Suno? Now, for some reason, you folks really want these two to hook up, inexplicably, but we have very limited information on Suno's overall personality. If we had more going for her, we would have tackled this properly. But for now, we don't, so it limits our scope in order to keep it out of pure fanfic territory. We know that she is caring, kind, and brave, and possibly might idolize Goku a little bit too much. So how would that work? Let's consider who Suno would become in the future. Even Kakarot doesn't give us much intel about what she really is as an adult, and that game had managed to do a lot and worked wonders in other departments in terms of actually picking up certain plot holes. But what we do know is that she does really care about Jingle Village. So let's assume that her career choice would be her becoming the mayor of Jingle Village. Sounds reasonable, doesn't it? That way, their first child, Gohan, would have also gotten an education easily since she would have had connections with the village's school, and might think about the scholarship route too, especially with Dr. Frapp still being around in the village to inspire Gohan. It might have ended with Goku and Suno living in Jingle Village permanently, due to her not wanting to simply up sticks and leave for the city. Gohan's childhood would have been far less stressful and pressured than under Chi-Chi's roof, and he certainly would not have had the rage boosts, again, most likely from said mother. Let's say that this is not a problem during the Raditz saga, all is pretty good. The thing is that, though, Suno's more agreeable nature might not work as well for the story as you might have thought. Suno might be too supportive of Goku, which would end in him not really being a good partner for her in the long run. He might not be around the house all that much, not really taking responsibility, other than for eating, sleeping, maybe training with Gohan. He would certainly not start training him at a young age though. Also, the part what makes Chi-Chi and Goku kind of work as a couple is that they both like challenges. Chi-Chi's becoming a martial artist was kind of a challenge in itself, as it was with giving Gohan the best education she could provide him. This sheltered princess was really ambitious, as is Goku in a way. That's why they're sort of compatible. Gohan's character growth in the original comes from overcoming his mother and becoming his own person. I think if she was more calmer and more reasonable, Suno, he might not even want to travel to Namek. His life would be a lot less filled with strife, but for sure, his potential might not have been that great. And at the end of the day, Suno would not be that happy with Goku either. While it is in a way doubtful if we can call Goku and Chi-Chi a happy marriage at times, but by the time of Super, they sort of have found a groove. They're both stubborn, and if Goku didn't have another stubborn person to tone him down and keep him in check in a way, he would have just done what he wanted. The concept of marriage would have been completely alien to him, making Suno potentially lonely, yet not alone. If we assume that Goku and Piccolo would have beaten Raditz in this timeline, a lot of problems could arise during the Android saga. Not only would Jiro take things even more personally, due to his enemy living closer to a previous territory of the Red Ribbon Army because of Muscle Tower, but Jiro could potentially gather even more intel about the Dragon Team, and use Goku's loved ones against him. If Gohan in this story was more defenseless, there is a serious threat that this story could end during the Android saga. Ultimately, we don't think any of the characters would have benefited from this scenario in the long run. Gohan would have had a better initial upbringing, but less motivation when it came to using his potential. All of this threatening the story to end prematurely. And that's it. 3 flash stories for another lightning round. We do know that some of them might have worked out differently in your head, so we would love to hear out your ideas. We'll try to do these lightning rounds more frequently in the future while scouting for ideas in the chat for the round tables and other videos. But do leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I will see you in the next video. Catch you later!